work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, yeah.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Career Exploration Saturday. I'm your host, Ebony Tyler. I have real conversations with real people about real jobs. Sorry for putting this out late, but listen, it's been a busy week. All right, so this week my guest is Aswad Jones. This is the third hawk to come through on the podcast, so I'm so excited. We talked about the power of Black educators in his life, choosing a life as a civilian soldier, and loving what he does. All right, let's jump right in. Good afternoon. Welcome, Oz. Welcome to Career Exploration Saturday. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So, we start all the conversations. Tell us about who 16-year-old Oz was. Did you have it all together? Did you know what you wanted to be?
No. So 16 was a rough year for me. I think that was sophomore year of high school. I think going into my sophomore year, I was expelled from my high school, the public high school, and there was literally no place for me to go into my sophomore year because all the schools were overcrowded at the time. So I didn't have anything together. I was very angry and upset with a lot of things, and I did not know what I wanted to do with my life when I was 16 years old. It was a tough time for me.
So how did you push past that to wind up graduating high school? And you're from New York, right?
Yeah, I'm from Harlem, 112th and Lenox. So my grandmother basically put me into a really small Muslim school in Corona, Queens. And she actually sold cake every Sunday she sold cake every Sunday to pay the tuition, which I'm forever thankful for, and it turned my life around. So going into sophomore year, I ended up going there, and I ended up turning it all around, because it was a really small Muslim school, and I got really big into my faith. I got really big into my studies. A lot of my teachers were foreign. So, and it's either they were foreign or they looked like me. They were African American, men and women, and they were smart. And so the foreign teachers, they, would teach me things and show me things that I wouldn't basically learn anywhere else. And my principal, Principal Shirley Dye, she was 100% committed to my education and my family. And so not only was I learning, I was a part of a community. So I was able to shine. I was able to shine there, and I ultimately graduated valedictorian and pushed through.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I've never been friends with a high school valedictorian.
Man, it's all hype. It's all hype. So yeah, so that's what helped me to get through.
But can you talk to us a little bit about what's it like seeing Black people as your educators who look like you, who made a difference? Did it make some type of emotional connection for you?
Yes, absolutely. Because they understand where you're coming from. You can't fool somebody who's been through the same thing you've been through, right? Mm-hmm. So because you can't fool somebody who's been through the same thing you've been through, or they understand everything. They understand what you're going to do before you're going to do it. And there's no excuses, right? So if your homework is late, so if you have a white teacher, a white male teacher, white female teacher, a white male or white female teacher, and say, well, I don't have my homework because my lights are off, or blah blah blah, whatever the case may be. They may sympathize with you and give you an extension. But if you have a a teacher who looks like you, a black teacher, and they look at you like, man, that's a line. Like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to pull my heartstrings like that, man. Like, you got fresh Jordans on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had time to do that, you know what I mean? Like, you had time to, you know, get the video game you was talking about at lunchtime. You know, where's my homework? You know, you couldn't get over on that, and because once you get past that, that you understand, I understood that culturally I couldn't fool them. Then I started listening to them, and they began to inspire me because it was like, you know what, if they can come from the same place I could come from, and they can be this intelligent, then maybe there's something for me here too. Then maybe there's a place for me here too that I'm not looking into. If that makes sense.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. So, after graduating high school, did you go straight to college?
I went straight to college, and I'm gonna tell you something, man. I had no clue how I was gonna get to college. It was because I was from the inner city. There was nobody I knew that had actually went to school, so I didn't know how it looked. It scared me to death. To me, college was always something. College was an after school special, so I didn't, So I took the SATs a couple of times, and I didn't think I was gonna make it because of my SATs. I didn't always have the money for the college fees because there was nobody. I don't know about you, but there was nobody to tell me that in order to apply for this school, I had to give them 25 at the time. I had to give them $25.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Coming up with the $25 to apply to these different schools, and it just wasn't one school I wanted to go to. There was like 5 or 6 schools I wanted to go to. So just coming up with that money became an issue. And then there's deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That I had to meet. But I went. Having said all of that, I had a good team of teachers. And of course, my grandmother is she was a retired educator too. She has a master's degree in early childhood development, so she was very helpful as well, and helping with the anxiety of actually going to college. So as soon as I graduated senior year, that June, that August, I was in the car down to go see my new school.
Now let's just back up a little bit because you was working at a radio station. How you gonna leave that out? Or I probably didn't ask the right question to get to to get to that. But tell us a little bit about your after school life, because you were working while you were in high school, and was that possible because of the small Muslim school that you went to? I'm just wondering. I don't know.
No, actually, I was in a youth program called Manhattan Valley, and it was out of Wabi High School on 114th Street in Harlem. And we had many counselors that were serious, and not serious like this. Like they were dynamic. They were dynamic, and they were young. So one of my counselors played college baseball at Grambling State. And he's actually the uncle of Derek Jeter, right?
Wow.
And then we had like other counselors that actually created the logo for Uptown Records, that cat, and also the bad boy, the literal bad boy for Diddy.
Okay.
Like those were our counselors. Those were the people that were speaking to us every single day. One of our counselors was Ryder Blank, the director of the 40-year-old version.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we had dynamic counselors, and their whole vibe was Manhattan Valley was all about empowering inner city youth to take us to the next level. That was what they were all about. So I say all that to say, you remember Summer Youth Employment Program, right?
Yes.
In New York?
Yes.
So they weren't trying to get us like summer youth employment jobs at no like little offices. They was trying to get us summer youth employment jobs at like Essence, at like, Ebony, they was trying to get us some like dope summer youth employment jobs to help us take us to this next level. So in one class, they were like, okay, hey, what do you want to do with your life? And one of my friends was like, he wants to be a lawyer. So they sent him to a law firm, right? They sent him to the DA's office for a month for
Mm-hmm.
the summer. They was like, Oz, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be a sportscaster. They was like, we're gonna send you to Hot 97. And I was like, no, y'all not. Whatever. Next week, I'm working youth employment at Hot 97,
Mm-hmm.
and I started working. It was a summer youth job, and I worked in the billing department, basically filing papers. That's all I did. I just filed papers every day. So basically, the way radio works is the on-air talent basically moves to sell airtime, right?
Right.
Commercials. That's basically what that's the whole business model of radio. The talent sells the commercials. So all the commercials had like a bill sheet. I'm responsible for taking care of all those bill sheets for for the um for the radio station. I was doing that, just filing paperwork, some busy work for some 16-year old kid to do, right? Um, and my boss at the time was so impressed with me that she asked the the music director if there was an opening for a phone operator, and it was. So after the summer, they kept me.
Mm.
So that September going into my junior year, I was a legitimate part-time phone operator at Hot 97.
Oh wow! And this is back in the 90s.
This is on the cusp of our era of music of
Yeah.
'95. So this is because '94 and before was it was a lot of West Coast stuff. But coming into '95, it was big. It was a lot of Method Man, a lot of Redman,
Yeah. That
a
good
lot of
stuff.
LL, a lot of good stuff, a lot of good stuff. So we was and High 97 was at the forefront of that movement, and I'm blessed to say that I was there. I was there for that.
So did you get a chance to work with any like personalities that we would know of?
Yeah, like I said, Wendy was a big influence on me as far as my education is concerned. She pushed me to get into radio. DJ Ralph McDaniels, um, God bless the dead Isaac Hayes,
Mm.
um, God bless the dead Mr. Magic. I worked with him on Sundays a lot. Um, Fat Man Scoop. Fat Man Scoop was the first person besides Wendy to want to empower me to do more at the radio station. Um, Funk Flex, Angie Martinez, Little Kim, because they had like guest DJs. Remember guest DJs
Mhm.
that they
Mhm.
had?
Yeah.
So yeah, so Redman, Method Man, Jay Z before he was like super conglomerate, huge. Um, Lauren Hill, all of them would come by the radio station all the time. Just to do music or interviews and things of that nature. And when you're a phone operator, or later on as I moved up to board operator. I was you just a part of the furniture. Those guys are there. You know.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
you were able to take those skills with you to college because you was on a radio station at UMES.
Yeah. So me being in New York, and me being able to you know so obviously, so 2 years before I went to college, I was already 2 years doing radio. So when I went to college, I already had like the skills needed to actually. Because down the shore, that's a professional radio station down there. A lot of students weren't allowed on the radio station at the time.
Mm.
Um, so me being from New York, me being from that setting, in radio, it gave me a leg up to actually go in there and do some good things and have my own show down the shore.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that was dope. So what was your major? What'd you major in when you were in college?
So University of Maryland Eastern Shore is my alma mater. Shout out to all my Hawks, go Hawks, Hawk Pride, catch it. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So at the time, there was no communication. Um, there's no communications degree at Eastern Shore, so I had to take an English non-teaching major, and I'm happy as hell as I did. No, I love that major. So I majored in English down
Okay, okay. And you graduated cum laude like me. Ow.
there. Yes, yes, yes.
Look, still got the ropes up, got the ropes up in my little
Oh,
office
you still
here.
got your rope.
Yes, I do.
I
I
don't know
do.
where mine are.
I save everything.
Now you're right on, man. Hell yes. Hell
All
yes. Yes.
right. So, a bachelor's degree in English,
Uh-huh.
non-teaching, and then what happens? Do you wind up getting, going into the radio industry or finding something
Well,
else?
when I graduated college, I went right back to the grind, working at Hot, working. I did Kiss FM, I did Hot 90 because they're owned by the same company. So I worked with both. However, what a lot of people don't know about radio is it doesn't pay a lot of money.
Mm,
It doesn't pay a lot of money. So um, I was working all the hours I could and doing a lot of great things. And of course, it sounds cool, and you can tell somebody, "Yeah, I work in radio. I work at a radio station." "Oh, yeah, you must make a lot of money." Nah, I really don't. And at the time, my girl at the time was pregnant,
mm-hmm.
and I had to make a decision. So it was try to make it in New York or move. So we decided that we would make a move down to Maryland where we thought we would have a better chance to stretch the dollar out, have a better opportunity for our daughter. So we moved to Maryland soon after. I want to say like October, November of September. I'm sorry, because my daughter's born in late October. So August, September, we moved to Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and I left the radio station, forever. It was a tough call, but at the end of the day, I'm happy I made it. It was the right call to make because, you know, the no, there's some people who, some people it's show business, right? So
Yeah.
some people either make it or some people don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I had my daughter, coming through. I had to make the safe, bet, the sure bet to ensure for my family. I didn't want to hustle in the streets for, promotions and things of that nature and keep running around trying to chase a dream. I had to get serious real quick, so that's what I did.
Okay. Okay. And then, what kind of work did you do?
Well, I got a regular job. I got into customer service at Verizon, and there was a lot of upward mobility. There was a lot of upward movement there. It was a brand new company that they just took over Bell Atlantic. So I started in customer service, and I was there 10 years. And so I started in customer service and moved up all the way to national distribution manager handling federal markets. So um, just answering regular phone calls, going all the way to having business meetings at the Pentagon, Lockheed Martin, NASA, all kinds of big opportunities, and making like real moves, and not just from a cell phone perspective, but a network perspective. And just trying to bring solutions to Department of Energy, Department of Justice. You remember Nextel was a big deal,
Yeah,
right?
next
Remember
to
that?
the church phone.
It, right, it was huge, and it was a big deal for our federal agencies, and making sure we had solutions for them to keep those guys safe, and the hard jobs that they have. So that was all real. It was real fun doing all of that. But soon I left that too.
Well, look, life is not it's not a linear road, right? If it don't work
Yeah,
out or you find better opportunity, then you got to go for it. So,
right,
the real reason I wanted to have you on is because I wanted you to talk to us about the military.
right.
Because I want to get like an inside perspective on the military and not what we hear or what our families tell us, because I'm seeing some folks that I know who are in the military and they live pretty nice lives. And I want more young people to know that this also is a viable option for them.
Absolutely. So this is gets a little long winded if you don't mind,
No, this is why.
because
This is why you're here. Tell us.
because it starts with my old career in wireless, right? So um, I was at NASA one time, and at the no, we was at the Department of Energy because they have this big auditorium, and we're battling for this NASA contract at the time. This is like the cusp um of like tweeting and stuff like that. This is at the cusp of that. So we're basically trying to sell NASA on, being that our phones are going to have all these apps on it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to try to sell phones and sell services to people for the rest of my life. I don't know if I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then um, Hurricane Katrina was soon after that, and I saw what the National Guard was doing with those people, how they
Yeah.
were basically putting their lives on the line to help others. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily about going overseas or anything like that, but they were like right in New Orleans helping people every single day. You know what I'm saying? So I was at the time I'm in the sales world, right? And sales is like a swimming with sharks type of deal, right? It's a very you're swimming with sharks every day because these people that you're around, they don't care about you. You know what I'm saying? They're not necessarily givers. You know what I'm saying? If I'll give you something, if you give me something. It's a very, it's a transactional relationship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And even though there's money in it, it's very it's very shallow. And you
Mm-hmm.
get to see through the people because the only reason why they're calling you is because they need something or they want something or they want to give you something so they can take something from you later. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And if you juxtapose that with what was going on in Katrina, you had these soldiers that was like, looking crazy, looking dirty, in these ugly, heavy trucks. You know what I'm saying? In the situation that nobody wants to be in, but they volunteered to be there with those people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that was very, very, very um, attractive to me. That was
Okay.
attractive to me. So that was the first thing. The second thing was I had a meeting at the Pentagon with these Marines. So me and my sales team were supposed to sell all these solutions to these soldiers, to these Marine officers and these contractors. And we had done so much to prepare for this meeting,
Mm-hmm.
so much to prepare for this meeting. So we in there, suited up, hard bottoms on, giving it to them. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, we got this going on. We got that going on. We got this going on. We got that going on. And can I tell you that they didn't care?
Mm.
They did not care.
Okay.
The people that was there was looking like, I'm just here until lunchtime so I can go eat my food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They just sitting there going through the motions. So we uptight trying to make sure that we sell them the product, but they the customer, and they could give two shits about what we're doing for them.
Right.
And I'm like, I need to be a part of that. I need to be with them. You know what I'm saying? I need to be with the people that are uptight trying to sell to me. You know what I'm saying? That's worry about my operation when I don't give two shits about their operation. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
was like, I'm in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You know. Um, and the last thing was this is hard to believe, but at the time, Verizon didn't have the iPhone.
Yes, because it was only AT&T.
Exactly, exactly. So imagine. So I'm gonna break it down to you like this because I know that your sons play chess. Imagine you just playing chess and the coach is dead ass telling them you without your queen, your knight, and your rook, but you got to win this game. That's basically how they was telling us.
Yeah, it's
We
kind of
want you to
hard.
go in here. We want you to go in here and sell the NASA, which is the highest, which is like, in my opinion, it's the highest concentration of nerds in the world. Is NASA, right? I'm going in there, right? And I'm basically telling them that I don't have an iPhone.
Yeah,
And
because
I'm
you
supposed
because
to
you
tell them that.
had to go to AT&T if you wanted an iPhone.
Right. But we supposed to be this big, huge company, but we don't have that. You know what I'm saying? So So I saw all those things. I saw the transactional relationships that I wasn't feeling. I saw the selflessness of those soldiers, of those guardsmen in Louisiana, and I saw a company, a dope company at the time, still a dope company, that was like, yo, we want you to go in this boxing ring, but we're going to handcuff you, and you got to make your numbers every single month. And I said, there's got to be a better way for me to sustain myself over the next 10 to 20 years, where I know that I can still win and I can still help and do what I want to do. So in November 2009, I walked in a recruiter office, and I was like, yo, what I got to do to enlist? And that was it.
How old were you at that age, at that time?
31.
Wow.
31. I flipped the coin, Ed. I was like, there's two jobs, in my opinion, that no matter what happens, pending the apocalypse, that will always have money, a lawyer or a mechanic. I was like, it's either I go to law school or I teach, the military teaches me and pays me to learn how to fix vehicles. I flipped the coin, heads, lawyer, tails, mechanic. Tails, it was mechanic. So I walked into the recruiter's office and was like, yo, what's up?
Wow.
Because I figured I was young. I figured I was young enough. In fact, because November 2000, I was 31. So I figured I was young enough to start a new career at the time. And this is 2009, right? So we in the middle of that. We at the end of that. We in the middle of that Bush recession. Remember?
Yep.
We at the end of that Bush recession. So I'm really risking it because I got a good paying job. Like, what am I doing? Leaving that to go to this.
And you got a family.
And I got a family. I got small children, which is why I chose to go to the Guard and not active duty, because I figured with my luck, they would send my happy ass to Korea or like Fort Drum, New York. Me and you from New York, we ain't going all the way upstate for nothing. We don't go upstate for nothing.
No.
So I didn't want to go to no Fort Drum, like up in New York. That's in Watertown, New York. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I figured if I went active duty, it would have been my luck to send me far as hell from my kids, and they were small at the time, and so I chose to join the National Guard and take a leap of faith and do it that way. So that's how I ended up doing that.
So how long is the National Guard's basic training?
So at the end of the day, there's three branches in the Army. There's active duty Army, right? There's the Army Reserve, and then there's the National Guard. We all wear U.S. Army, so if you see us in the street, you wouldn't be able to tell, unless you could tell patches and stuff like that we wear on our sleeves. You wouldn't know who we are, if we're active duty, National Guard, or Reserve. You wouldn't know. So I say all that to say everybody trains together, because at the end of the day, we're all in the Army. So it's the Army National Guard. It's still the Army. So we all go to the same basic combat training, which is, I think, 10 weeks.
Okay.
I think it's like 10, 12 weeks, yeah.
And then how do you know, like, what's next? Do you get your assignments?
So
you go
so as soon as you go through your enlistment process with your recruiter, right? You go through your enlistment process with your recruiter, and then you're given initial entry training orders. And those orders are telling you where you're going to go to basic combat training. And they can send you to Fort Jackson in South Carolina. They can send you to Fort Sill in Oklahoma. They can send you to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. They can send you to all kinds of places to go to your basic combat training. You got drill sergeants yelling in your face all day. You're going to do a whole bunch of push-ups and sit-ups. I lost 25 pounds when I was there. I know you remember me being small in college, but I got heavier, and then I lost all the weight when I went down there at 31 years old. So
where were you?
I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Okay.
Relaxing Jackson is what they call it. And then from there, once you graduate from basic combat training, then they give you, you have another set of orders where you're going to your advanced individual training. And that's where you learn your job, your MOS, um, your your occupational specialty. So I forget what the M stands for. Occupational specialist. So you learn your MOS, you learn your job. So I was a mechanic, so they sent me to. I stayed at Fort Jackson because at the time that's where the ordnance school was. So ordnance has everything to do with like vehicles, weapons, bombs, things of that nature. Now it's in Fort Lee, Virginia, but before it was at Fort Jackson. So I stayed at Fort Jackson from April of 2010 through July of 2010. So essentially, and I got the basic training January 2010. So essentially, I was training in the military for 6 whole months.
Okay.
But your occupational specialty training all depends on the job you have. You can, some people, depending on their job, they can be an advanced individual training or AIT as it calls. They can be down there for a year depending on their job. But I was only down there for a few months, and then I was given a unit of assignment here in Pennsylvania, and then I came home.
So you're in the military, but you live at home.
Yes, because as a guardsman, you're what they call a civilian soldier.
Okay.
So as a civilian soldier, you can have a regular job. You can be, they're National Guardsmen, that are teachers, that are firemen, that are lawyers, that are dead-ass doctors, that are dentists. But they raised their right hand and said, hey, I want to be a guardsman. The other part about being in the National Guard is that they have full-time jobs there that you can do. So a couple years in, I was bouncing around like little jobs, 2010, when I got home to 2012, and I got a job as a mechanic at one of the maintenance shops right across the street from one of our armories. And I worked on trucks. I went from being literally a businessman, you know what I'm saying, selling stuff to selling phones and NASA, to getting dirty under a Humvee, ripping out a transmission or changing the oil filter or on top of the big truck, like, changing out an exhaust fan or changing out a gigantic alternator. I was doing that. I started doing all that. So the plan worked essentially.
And you're a sergeant now, right?
Yeah. So when I first got in, if you have college, college is a big deal in the military because. So one thing about the Army especially is, and I want to make this point, especially to those of us who are college educated, the same way that you say that the way the Army is, you can't fathom it, Eb. You don't understand. You understand it from a television perspective,
right? You
understand it from a news perspective, but the actual day-to-day of the Army, you can't fathom it. You don't understand. You can't begin to understand. There's no reference point that you can take or that you can put in your mind and go from there, right? That's how a lot of soldiers are when it comes to education. They cannot fathom a college classroom. Because a lot of them went to the Army right out of high school, right? They enlisted at 17, 18 years old. So high school was it for them. Right. So for them to be on the yard like we were and go to class and leave class and go eat lunch and go to another class and do that for 4 years. Like, so basically you're in a classroom every single day for 4 years.
Yeah, for 4 years. For 4 years.
They cannot fathom that.
Okay.
They cannot fathom saying, okay, like I remember in your rehab program, you did physical rehab, but you had mental rehab too, which means that you had papers to write.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
In what format? What was the format for rehab?
APA.
APA format.
APA format.
Let me tell you something. So the average age of an E6 staff sergeant is anywhere between 35 and 55 years old. Let me tell him that he has to write a 5-page paper at APA format. If he's been to Iraq or Afghanistan, he may not be afraid to shoot nobody. But if you got to tell him he got a 5-page paper to write in APA format, he may shit himself. right
Wow.
then and there, because he cannot fathom the thought of higher education. So
Mm.
having said that, higher education is a big fucking deal in the army. So I came in already four ranks in. I came in as enlisted four E4 because I had a college degree off the break.
Okay, wait. Let's understand it. So you walk in the door, you go to basic training, and you already have a college degree. So once you finish your basic training, you're 4 steps ahead already.
Already off the break.
Wow.
Off the
And
break.
does that affects your pay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have a college degree off the break. Now
Wow.
the trick is to keep on getting promoted, right? Because the army ain't it's a physical place, right? It's a place you have missions, you have a commitment you have to partake in. But yeah, so off the break, when I got to my unit, I was already a specialist at E4 when I got in because of that education.
Okay.
And then like I said, yeah, I decided to make a career out of it. 2012, I was full time.
So what is your day-to-day job like right now?
Well, I'm a training manager now. So I'm a training manager for a maintenance company. So in the mornings I do physical training. So I either go for a run, excuse me, or weights, whatever cardio, um, whatever the case may be. I always do try to do like 20, 25 minutes every single day. Um, and then from there, personal hygiene, and then I'm off to work. Um, I'm in the armory from uh, 08, 8 o'clock, I'm sorry, till about 4:30 in the afternoon. And as the company training manager, I'm responsible for the training of about 150 soldiers.
Mm.
So I have to make sure that their physical fitness is up to par. I have to make sure that they're being trained effectively. So because I'm in a maintenance company and they're mechanics, I have to make sure that they're getting every single year or every single month, they're meeting their requirements as far as them being mechanics, as far as them being soldiers are concerned. Whether it means, are they passing their run? Are they, making weight because there are height and weight standards that we have? Do they need to go to a specific school so that they can maintain their jobs, they can maintain their rank?
Hmm.
Um, I'm also responsible for paying the soldiers, so
Okay.
making sure that everything is good as far as their um, what do you call it?
Your benefits?
Uh, yeah, as far as their benefits are concerned, as far as like, do they have dependents? Is the paperwork right for their wife, for their children? Are they getting paid on time? So I'm responsible for that part, and I'm also responsible to make sure that that mentally that they're good,
Mm.
right? What I'm saying? Like, hey, this, COVID is a big thing right now, right? So, um, somebody's wife may not be working. So is the soldier working? Are they all right? Are they talking to the right people? I may have to put a bug in a platoon sergeant's ear. Hey, has this soldier called you? No, the soldier hasn't called me. Well, this soldier just told me that they were having money problems. I want to check in with them to make sure they're all right. You know, um, Today, we're getting ready for state active duty, which is like a smaller version of what happened in Katrina. We have snow coming, so we had to move trucks. So we have these gigantic trucks that we get up from behind the desk and we have to go. We have to be soldiers. We got to move trucks to certain places. Um, so that's pretty much an average day for me in the military. It's a lot more mundane than people think. Um, it's a lot less. Of course, there are things like deployments that come up, um, but in the National Guard, it all depends on what your unit does. Like I'm a maintenance company, so it's
Hmm.
like do we need a maintenance company to go to certain places across the world for deployment? Do we need them in Iraq? Do we need them in Afghanistan? Do we need them in Kuwait? Do we need them in Jordan? Yes, we need this company to go over here, we need this maintenance company over there. So we deploy, but we do our jobs over there. You know what I'm saying? We're not infantry. Of course, we carry weapons while we're over there, but our main job is to maintain the trucks, to maintain the generators, to maintain the weapons. That's our job as maintenance. And then you may have a medical company, right? Medical companies, they're responsible for taking care of the sick, taking care of those with injuries. So they may deploy to, make sure that when soldiers hurt themselves, that they have the aid stations up
Right.
to make sure that they're, to make sure that there's medical care. The military, the Pennsylvania, the National Guard in itself is self-sustaining. Our military is self-sustaining. So the same kind of professionals, human resource professionals, medical professionals, lawyers, doctors, mechanics, plumbers, construction, engineers, we have all that the same way in the military. It's just that we wear uniforms.
Now,
and we have to do jobs the same way.
Have you ever been deployed?
No, we were supposed to. No, I haven't been deployed. The company, the unit that I came into in 2010 had just got back from Iraq.
Okay.
When I came in, so no, I haven't been deployed yet. I've been to some super whack places, but I never got shot at. But I've been to some bullshit places, but no, I never got shot at.
Okay, go ahead.
One thing about our community is that there are a lot of haters when it comes to military careers. If you're at any age, 18 to 25 or 30, whatever the limit is, and you decide that you want extra skills or extra paycheck or extra retirement money, and you decide you want to join the military, the first thing that somebody may say is, well, you don't want to join that white man's army. Why you want to fight for this country? You don't want to fight and die for this country. But there's so many things that people don't understand that in Vietnam, only 20% of army personnel were actually fighting. There are thousands of jobs in the army. There are thousands of jobs in the military where, of course, you're a soldier first, right? But ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get skills, and you're trying to be in an environment that only 1% of the United States actually takes advantage of. You can't buy that kind of non-competition. You know what I'm saying? Any field that you want to go into, there's some kind of competition. In the military, 1% of the nation is actually in a uniform. So for you to get those skills, you automatically are marketable when you decide to leave. And you can leave after 2 years, after 4 years, after 6 years, 16 years, or you could do a full 20 years. It's entirely up to you. But those skills and that piece of paper that says that you're a veteran, that stays with you forever.
Yeah.
It stays with you forever.
I mean, so you've had like 3 careers actually.
Yeah. Thank God, man. Thank God. Yeah, radio, taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about people. It taught me a lot about humility, because just like anybody else, somebody who's hot one year ain't hot the next year, right? And the people that you knew 10 years ago, I'll ask my daughter, I'll ask my son, they'd be like, who?
Yeah.
They don't know who that is. And wireless taught me a lot too. I learned how to communicate with people. I learned how to be an effective writer. I learned how to be politically correct when I need to be. I learned how to be professional. I learned my suit game. Like, I hated dressing up when I was a little kid. I hated dressing up when I was on the yard, So, but when you go other places like the military, they don't know that you're not supposed to wear a mismatched belt with a pair of shoes. You're not supposed to wear black shoes with a brown belt. They don't know that, but me being in wireless and being in that professional environment helped me to get little nuances down pat. And the military has taught me that I can do anything. You know what I'm saying? That there is no, when as a soldier, you may have to be outside for a long time. You may have a shift that goes from 4 in the morning to 10 at night, and you might have an overnight shift between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. You may have to drive a truck that you never drove before. It's not going to be convenient for you. You know, it but somebody's going to look at you and be like, "Do you have 10 fingers? Do you got 10 toes? Do your arms work? Do your legs work? All right, yeah. Well, we're going to need you over here to do this, this, and that." And then when you come back into the civilian world, it's like I, I can catch up to it. I can do this. You know, I can. You know how you have like the big waters, and you tell your son to carry up the stairs. You're like, oh my God, it's so heavy. You know, it's like when you're a soldier, it's like I can carry heavy to this. You know, so you know
Right.
it gives you a sense that you can do many things because you have to control things in your own environment all the time. So my careers have definitely helped me. Um, this is the first time I've actually spoke about it um, in depth because I don't like to. I don't feel like I've done anything, to be honest with you. I don't feel like there's plenty of people that's doing real big things in the world, and I just feel like I'm just doing what the Lord asked me to do. That's it. You know, I'm not doing anything crazy.
Well,
I'm being dead serious. I'm being dead serious too. I'm not like that type of person to be like, yeah, 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 yeah. Because you know how it is. Like somebody always wants to tell you how great they are.
right.
Always. Somebody always wants to tell you how awesome they are. I am so awesome. And you're like, no, you're not. no, no, you're not. Nobody cares. And that's how I always carry it. Like, nobody gives a shit.
No,
So,
but
you know what I'm
but
saying?
I think it's important, right, to
Yeah.
show that there's so many different ways to be successful, right?
Yes.
And success, it's what you define. It's what you define it as. And I think having a career in the military is a successful thing. You know, you talked about how you were able to work at the radio station in college because of the experience that you got in high school. There's definitely value in that a young person can take from.
Yes. And you're absolutely right. And one thing I always try to tell soldiers, um, I always try to tell soldiers is that um, that there's nothing wrong with the way that you're doing things. You just have to be consistent at it. There's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with it. And a lot of soldiers, the reason why they become soldiers is because of the fact that somebody told them along the way that they couldn't do something. So
Mm-hmm.
they chose the physical aspect of their life instead of the mental aspect of their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they learn much later in life that, hey, I can do this mentally. Where you and I, we knew it in 18. That's why we went to college and we figured it out mentally. But physically, somebody told those soldiers that they couldn't do it mentally. And I always tell them, I said, listen, if you ask a monkey to climb a tree, he's going to climb that tree. But you can't ask a fish to climb a tree, right? That doesn't mean the fish is stupid because he can't climb the tree, right? Everybody learns in different ways. Everybody is great at doing certain things. You know what I'm saying? So if I can sell a phone or if I can do all these other things, maybe this guy right here he can hang drywall. Maybe he can paint a house. Maybe he
Mm-hmm.
can do something with wood that I can't do. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And that's what I always try to get through young people's minds and try to get because these soldiers are young, right? They're 17, 18 years old, coming out of school and coming out of high school, and they're trying to, and I have to manage their careers, and and have to put bugs in their ears that they're not going to be 19, 20 years forever, right? They're going to age, and they have to find different ways to sustain themselves and their families. And I always tell them that there is nothing in this world that you're not going to be able to do. And so I'm not discounting that. It was just the fact that I've always tried to err on the on the side of humility than um than boastfulness. That's all I was trying to say.
Well, I'm sure that also comes from your faith.
Yeah, yeah. I was good. Good one. I was born and raised Muslim, So, yeah, I've always, and just the way that we grew up. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that, you know, of course, there's like the Muhammad Ali's and other stuff, but uh, it's just always better to be like, nah, I'm doing all right. I always feel like I could do better. I always feel like there's something else there's another challenge that I need to take on. And I remember when I was in basic training, we had to crawl 300 yards, which is equivalent to 3 football fields. So we had to crawl 300 yards from one end to another. And I said, would I rather be in a cushy office, a cushy hotel room, with my iPod, that's how old it was, with my iPod, watching TV, or doing this? And I said, I'd rather be doing this. I'd rather be crawling to the other side with the stupid weapon on my back, to the other side rather than doing it, because I did that already. I want to push myself to do something else.
Yeah. So your career brings you joy.
I love my job. As long as I've been in the military, I've loved my job. There hasn't been a day that I've been in the military, and I tell my wife this all the time. There hasn't been a day that I've been in the military that I didn't love going to work.
You know what?
One day.
Wow. I think that's the perfect place to end it. Thank you so much, Oz. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem, Emily. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Oz. So some takeaways are exposures to careers in high school, internships, dynamic mentors, and people who believe in your future will have an impact on the decisions that a young person makes in their life. 2, higher education is a big deal in the military. It increases your pay and it moves you up the promotional ladder. And 3, you are never too old to create the life and the career that you want. Oz entered the military at age 31. I'm inspired. I don't know about you. Thank you so much, Oz, and welcome to the Liberated Success family. I want to give a big shout out to Alicia Christiani, who will be our first industry mentor for our first cohort of students. I'm super grateful to Alicia for donating her time, her energy, and her expertise, and for making a difference in the lives of young people. Thank you for watching and listening all the way to the end. If you find our work impactful, important, informative, show us some love with a donation. Donation links are in my bio on IG, Twitter, and YouTube. It's the first comment on Facebook. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can make a donation via listener support. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. All right, wear your mask, wash your hands, physically distance. I got my ouchie Fauci this week, or is it Fauci ouchie? I got my first vaccine this week. And all Black Lives Matter. See you next week. Bye.